As a series, Total War tends to give its best when building on an already established foundation. Napoleon surpassed Empire, Attila surpassed Rome 2, and in faithful fashion, Total War Warhammer 2 has pushed beyond the original, creating the most fleshed out and engrossing campaign the Veterans series has offered to date. The headliners of this high fantasy battle royale are four extremely distinct armies, all of which are fun to command. The enigmatic lizardmen bring a combination of rampaging dinosaurs and highly potent magic to the field. Their mid and high tier units present interesting tactical considerations for where and when to commit to the melee, since they're prone to rampage and decide they don't need your stupid orders anymore once they get in the thick of it. Despite their shared heritage, the High Elves and their edgier Dark Elf cousins are about as far from reskins of one another as you can get. High Elf armies fill a niche that none of the original Total War Warhammer factions really could, with a focus on small, expensive units that each represent the very peak of discipline and martial excellence. Watching a unit of dauntless sword masters hold a charge is satisfyingly reminiscent of the prelude to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films, with flashing swords cutting effortlessly through the varied horrors assailing your line. High Elves don't have much of a stomach for gore though, and fight the hardest at the beginning of a battle before they've started to take casualties and get blood on their expensive cuirasses. That makes Dark Elves a fantastic contrast, because they become more deadly the more viscera has been spilled. They have a focus on wicked, frenzied units that evoke the sinister, un-Disneyfied versions of Grimm's fairy tales. Lastly, the Skaven are the centerpiece of the whole operation, and one of the most truly different factions I've ever handled in a Total War game. They inhabit ruins which an enemy can only identify as a settlement by sending an army to investigate them, allowing major cities to hide in plain sight. Their roster focuses on swarms of cheap units supported by powerful specialists, like the hilarious and deadly Doom Wheel, and is a great fit for players who don't bat an eye at throwing lives away to get the job done. And it's a great bonus that these factions can battle against the original Total War Warhammer factions in multiplayer if you own both games. Each faction also offers an array of interesting campaign mechanics. Skaven spread their own brand of corruption, similar to Chaos and Vampires in the first game, while High Elves can use intrigue to spark tensions between any two factions. When you add in the ability to explore ruins and shipwrecks, powerful rights that can be activated for strong temporary bonuses, and the overarching battle for control of the vortex that determines victory, the amount of micromanagement can start to feel overwhelming. The theme of Warhammer 2's campaign seems to be that you'll never sit around hitting end turn while waiting for buildings and armies to finish, which is an improvement from Warhammer 1. At the same time, there was definitely an adjustment period where I had to learn that prioritizing a few things was more effective than trying to play with all of the shiny new toys at once. The Great Vortex campaign itself is this sequel's greatest triumph, as the major factions race to complete rituals that represent distinct milestones on the path to victory, and sabotage one another in the process. The world grows more hectic and dangerous. All the while, new pieces of a simple but effective story with an interesting twist are revealed. Total War has always struggled to make the endgame interesting after you've built a powerful empire, and while the Chaos invasion in the last game was a decent attempt to correct this, the Vortex campaign's increasing application of external pressure and tense final battle make it look amateurish. However, it still falls short in the typical Total War weak spots, notably politics and diplomacy. I feel like a broken record saying this is the best Total War game so far, since I've felt that way about each major release since Attila. But Creative Assembly's designers are really honing their campaigns and factions consistently from game to game, and that progression is clearly on display in Total War Warhammer 2. Each of the four factions is distinct and fun to play. The story and objective-driven campaign is a league above anything we've seen in the Total War series before in both design and presentation. I'm anxious to see how it all fits together with the old world when the combined Mortal Empires campaign is released to owners of both games later this year. For more, check out 17 minutes of Total War Warhammer 2 gameplay and the original Total War Warhammer review.